An amalgamation is a combination of two or more companies into a new entity. Amalgamation is distinct from a merger because neither company involved survives as a legal entity. Instead, a completely new entity is formed to house the combined assets and liabilities of both. The Northern and Southern Protectorates of Nigeria were amalgamated by British colonial governor Frederick Lugard on January 1st, 1914. What are the reasons for amalgamation? One of the main reasons of merger of amalgamation is the increase in the value of the entity as a result of the united front is greater than the sum of the independent values of the formers. But with regards to the concept of amalgamation, pre-1914 Nigeria, protectorate or colony, how were the separate entities faring before amalgamation? And now, the national question in Nigeria of today after a century, 106 years now, the socio-economic ramifications of amalgamation. There were 28% of persons that history revealed as those that signed the amalgamation document in 1914, out of which 6 were Nigerians and the 22 remaining were British. The Nigerians were 1. H.R.H. Meturade Sarkin Musulami and Sultan of Sokoto. 2. Usman Dan Maje, who later became Emir of Kano. 3. Sakitoyi Ajasa, a lawyer. 4. H.R.H. Oladugbolu Alafin of Oyo. 5. H.R.H. Hensel Obong of Calabar. 6. Abubakar Shehu of Borno. The location of the amalgamation was in Zungeru, Niger State. That was the capital of the British Protectorate of Northern Nigeria from 1902 until 1916. And the edict of the agreement was said to have 100 years period, which expires in 2014. It in the document that after 100 years, each party can re-evaluate and determine if they want to continue together or go their separate way. Therefore, on Spectacle today, let us x-ray this topic to find solutions to the lingering crisis of today's Nigeria, where the various regions have one crisis or the other. In the southeast, the issue of season by IPOP keeps brewing with insecurity. In the southern west, the issue of restructuring keeps coming up. In the northeast and northwest, the issue of Boko Haram and banditry have been on for over a decade. In the north central, the issue of herdsmen crisis has been on. In the oil-rich region of South-South, the issue of militancy, etc. What could be the best resolution for the stability of this country in the area of political, economical, social, ethno-tribal, and religion? Your take as a proper solutions would be showcased as recommendation for the unity of the country.
Spectacle on Television Nigerian. Welcome back. We apologize for that break in transmission a moment ago. And like I said, we have a professor of policy and strategic studies, expert in diplomacy, defense, and national security, former director general of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, KURU, in the studio of Television Nigerian. And with him is Chief Amos Shane, a senior citizen of the country and a consultant in economy and development. Gentlemen, Prof, welcome again.
Thanks again, we're here.
All right. Mr. Amos?
Yes, thank you very much.
Welcome. Now, Prof, straight ahead, you were given a history, a background history, before that transmission
Went
off. We continue from there shortly before we begin to analyze the actual essence why we are here to set agenda for the nation after 106 years of amalgamation.
The significant aspect that I want our listeners and therefore the world to know is that several nations, I think about 162 or more across the planet, out of which we have 54 in Africa, a nation like in law consists of 3 fundamental things: a government, a people, and of course a territory. In international law, when you define the nation, those three parameters are sacrosanct. When you say a nation, then it has a government, it has a territory, and there is people. Now, in the case of Africa, at the 1963 OAU maiden conference, they agreed that all the borders that were created, inherited, must be kept to make our nations intact for security and strategy. Otherwise, several African states or nations would have been divided along tribal or ethnic lines.
Okay.
But the wisdom of our leaders then, the heroes, Nkrumah, Azikiwe, and others, Nyerere, was that, look, it is important to have a compact nation. We inherit it, and then we keep the borders as they were. So Cameroon remained what is Cameroon, Chad, Niger, Somalia, Egypt, all that down the line. Everyone kept what they inherited. But for us, the amalgamation defined the nation that we all are struggling to keep and strengthen. There are several schools of thought about amalgamation. The first school believed that it was a waste of time. It was basically an imperial desire to keep us together for exploitation. The second school, which I belong to, believed that every nation has a history. And as a strategist, and of course as a diplomat, larger strategic agglomerations are the benefit of its people. We have smaller village called nations, very small, Togo, Benin, Burundi, Rwanda. But when you look at Ghana, South Africa, Kenya, Egypt, Zaire, or the Congo, then Nigeria, you see there is an advantage in the larger strategic agglomeration. And therefore, 1914 to me, to us, those of us strategists, believe it was not a mistake. We are a nation destined to be. In the book that I cited for General Jogaro, ambassador, he said, prior to the arrival of the British, our parents have been doing markets as far as Sierra Leone, as far as Chad, as far as Central Africa, as far as Morocco. The nation was there. They just redefined its space. The northern hegemony, the northern protectorate, southern protectorate, were told it is to facilitate administrative management.
Okay.
And consequently, different political parties came up, different constitutional arrangements came up to solidify the essence of Nigerian nation.
All right, Prof. When you are talking about a different constitution, framework, different administration, beginning from the history of the military era in Africa, we're talking about Nigeria now, not Africa at large, in Nigeria down to this dispensation of democracy. The essence of this amalgamation, judging from all the political tensions, governmental tensions, and the instability that we witness today, could you say it wasn't a mistake still?
No. All nations, a very powerful and good nation. I wrote a book, Nations and Democracy, National Security in the Democratic Policy.
Okay.
And I argued largely that powerful nations that determine the fate of other nations, the planet, talk of Russia, France, the five big powers, Britain. They are not a nation that came like a piece of cake. They went through their own developmental processes. In fact, some of the nations also were imposed from outside. America was a colony of Britain. 1776, they took their independence. Australia, India, Pakistan, and of course Nigeria and South Africa. So nations were put together by other powerful forces. In the case of Nigeria, the coming together, the fabrication, the production, the existence of this large political system, us as strategists will see it as a blessing. If you make a necktie, maybe when you go to Togo, you sell about 50 or 100. Make the same nectar and come to Nigeria, we sell 1 million. We are a large market. Our potentials are great. We only need to be sufficiently serious to make our nation function. And there's no prophet, there's no angel that will teach us how to manage Nigeria. We need to come together. You don't manage nations without political parties. A time it was when we had military coup, but that military coup was fashionable because of the East-West crisis, conflict, conflagration. And eventually, today in Europe, you hardly would hear of any dictator. The Belarus is a case. Somebody in power for the past 25 or 30 years. He doesn't want to leave power. That's exactly what is happening to some of the countries in Africa. The gentleman in Cameroon has been there since 1982. And possibly doesn't want to leave. The gentleman in Cote d'Ivoire is thinking of a third term. Successfully in this country, we have been a respecter of law. Yes. A time came when it was military, it was fashionable. And you know the history from His Excellency General Guirosi to the last General Abdulsalam Abubakar. Yes. They all knew a time has come for the military to get back to the barracks. As a military theoretician, let me tell you again, nations, you are a military, I am a military. But the purpose is to hold the nation together. Political power goes to the people. And at the National Defense College, we started a program. I was there then. Demilitarization of the military. Civilianization of the military. The military submission to political power. Power goes to the people. The khaki, the guns, does not arrogate you any political power. As the discomfort, disagreement, the terrible situation. But then suddenly when the nation could not be managed, they resorted to the military. We have passed that stage. We have a nation that is strong. We have a nation that is working. Just a small salt of fine political leadership, and it will remain a power that we are.
That is what you mean by sufficiently serious.
You don't lead the nation when there's something I called the political development of our leaders. Maybe we need some special schools like we have in NIPS to produce leaders for the nation.
As the National Institute
for Policy and Strategic. We train our participants. We educate them on the need to hold the nation through policy. Therefore, we bring politicians, we bring the military, all class of military, people from the civil society. Leaders in the nation, right from the principal in the school, you talk of a leader. But get it to the level of the president, you talk of one person collectively elected to serve, to work, and be committed. As I'm sitting with you now, we've had several leaders. When we celebrated the 100 years of Nigeria independence, I wrote a piece, and the piece is that all our leaders that were alive, they are in this country. They've not run anywhere. There are some countries where their leaders cannot stay in their country. The beauty of Nigeria is that we are together. We are managing it. We are patching areas that needed to be patched. And as I told you, President Muhammadu Buhari authored one of my books, The Beauty and Dangers of Democracy. What you are seeing like armed robbery, banditry, divisionism, desire even to have another country, they are the dangers of democracy. The total freedom of an individual or group. But the beauties of democracy is our togetherness, a nation that we cherish for our own grandchildren, for our children for tomorrow.
All right. I will come to you, Chief Amos, but I really want to exhaust the Prof because of his policy-making knowledge and strategic expertise. So, Prof, I have this question for you, and it may be coming from the opinion of the audience too, that the issue in the country, like marginalization, domineering of minority ethnic group, and then land grabbing by superior ethnic group, especially when you talk of political power and religious power, were this thing to make a nation sufficiently serious, like you put it?
People sit on the fence and believe that you have a nation, you have a bucket of flour. No, that's not a nation.
Okay.
The struggle that we make together to build, there are what we call forces, centripetal, those who wanted to come together, centrifugal. But those forces, they will be there. I gave a lecture at the National Defense College, Strategic Thinking and National Security. We have a nation that we need to defend. Some people make it as a job to secure their daily bread by causing trouble in this nation.
Okay.
Some people make it as their job because they want political power, and they create all these differences. But I'm a native Fulani, but I'm a Nigerian,
Yes.
and I have a space. Are you getting me?
Yes, sir.
So also is any other ethnic groups, the Angas, the Yoruba, the Ijaw. We have a nation that we have to develop, that we have to defend. All these differences, they are power potentials. A group of people will wake up and say, okay, we want a chunk of land there, talking of resuscitating some group that wanted a nation of Biafra. It doesn't exist. I have a video the other time when a general came up, may their soul rest in perfect peace. We've handed over to Nigeria, no more. We have a nation now. Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Philip Effiong came and said, General, sir, Gawan, we're handing over, no more nation for Biafra. We are creating a state. But nothing stops you in a democracy for people to want to go into division. Okay. Nothing stops you because of freedom to want your own entity. The only problem, banditry, rogue, armed robbery, direct stealing, bribery and corruption. They are fundamental issues in the nation. It's like having, you cannot cut your hand away because you are an entity. Those are the problems we manage with a leader. We have courts, we have the judiciary, we have the military. As I'm talking to you now, Buratai and their likes, they were product of the National Institute. The current IG is our product.
They are watching you live.
I have about 4 or 5 IGs that my product at the National Institute. And so, the immigration. So, the civil defense. Just let it be clear. We are in a political turbulence. I believe you're a TV or whatever.
I'm from the Idomas.
Okay, beautifully. I believe powerful Idomas have ruled this nation. I know my boss was David Mark. Let me be frank with you. We're in a political turbulence. And this moving up, eventually the nation, the plane will land on a beautiful walkway. But then we need a leader. President Muhammad Buhari is giving an example. Of course, he will be imagining that he will not be criticized. They will criticize you. So you are there to be criticized. I've criticized you, sir, to myself, to make the nation work. Purposefully for your strength, integrity, clarity. Most people wanted the leader that has Buhari's qualities. Clarity, intelligence, no corruption. And his 3 agenda, infrastructure. You get it?
Yes.
Economy.
Yes.
And of course security. They are there. Nobody should sleep and believe that they will be looking at Nigeria from far away. I asked the question in the National Defense College, and I'm asking you, whom do you think want Nigeria to succeed? Whom do you think they want Nigeria not to have problems? Except we that are Nigerians. But people will wake up, qualify, collude with others, let's cause trouble, even to make money. But then we have all the instruments. The government has the monopoly of military power. Okay. But if we unroll, you hear the president, the other say, deal with them ruthlessly. We have a nation. And then we have people, like we have children that want to go their ways. Wherever they go, come back to the house. This nation will survive. This nation must survive. We are not more than 100 million or more that want Nigeria to succeed. We are about 200 million, but all of us will have a right, fundamental rights. Only that, like in France, like in Britain, like in America, they want the nation to be united. Amos is here. He knew the values of development.
Yes.
If you talk about development, he knows develop an economy.
Yeah, that is why I brought him here.
Before you go to my dear friend, I want to say it again that the 1914 amalgamation.
It was not a mistake.
First, it was not a mistake. It was designed. I don't know where
you gave three.
Schools of thought.
Yes, school of thought.
Those who doesn't want it, those who felt that it's rubbish, those of us who believe this is designed, and by extension, we believe, and I'm saying it very loud. A successful Nigeria has the greatest opportunity for any nation. We are a world power. At the time that President Obama visited Africa, didn't visit Nigeria, I wrote a memo. We don't need Obama here. We are our Obamas. After all, Obama is our son. Are you getting it? We are the power in the sub-region. We are the power in the Africa. But that power has responsibilities. And responsibility is the leadership. On that strength of leadership, I allow Shein to put a few words. What sort of nation do we want? What sort of development do we need to see? And by extension, what is our own responsibility as citizens?
Thank you very much, Prof. Yesterday, someone was in the studio and we started this program, Amalgamation of Nigeria, the trajectory, and we asked what would be the new trajectory if we have expired the 100 years pact by 6 years now. And one of the things he mentioned yesterday, that was Comrade Salihu Dantata. He said the issue of development, say developmental issues in our democracy has been quagmire. And if we happen to improve in social and infrastructural amenities, it means that people will not want to ask for secession, people will not want to go into banditry, people will not want to be in criminality. Now, you as a consultant in economy and development, how would you profile to the country now, this present administration and the ones to come, on developmental strides? Which pact? How would they go in developing the country? Remember, since 1960, it seems that instead of upward in development, we are a kind of coming downward in development. Why, and what could be the solution, sir?
Thank you, viewers, and thank you, the whole house.
Thank you.
My boss has spoken so much where we were about 100 years past and where we are today.
Exactly.
In relation to developmental growth in Nigeria, I think we have to look at leadership itself. In Nigeria, we need good leaders. And I want to say, first of all, give a kudos to the present government, President Buhari. Kudos. Yes.
Okay, well, leadership.
First, yes, leadership. First, his cardinal point I see in him that he will leave behind as a legacy is fighting corruption. This is the key thing that will bring up development in Nigeria.
All right.
Like I said,
so if corruption is eliminated,
if corruption is eliminated, then there will be growth in development.
Do you see that happening?
Yes, I see it happening. Because I say he has laid the foundation. And you know corruption, if you want to fight corruption, corruption will fight you.
Exactly.
Therefore, he has laid the foundation. And we hope the subsequent government will build on the foundation he has laid.
Okay.
So as to be able to eliminate corruption completely. That would enhance development. And secondly, we also have to look at the issue of peace. There cannot be development where there are crises.
Okay.
We must live together as a nation being brought together about 106 years today. Loving one another, coexisting, all the major and minor tribes, understanding ourselves and living together.
Now, the issue of coexistence, Chief Amos, coexistence is like a pact. Prof, you're here.
Yeah.
It's like a marital agreement.
Yes.
Except two agrees, they can never be together. In a situation where I want to coexist with you, and you often look for my trouble, how do we coexist?
We must tolerate one another.
That's the word.
And when you talk about tolerance,
Yes.
is destruction part of what we should tolerate? For instance,
destruction. When we talk about destruction, it brings anger.
It brings anger.
And it raises emotions.
Yes.
And it's difficult for one to tolerate. But with maturity and the spirit of togetherness, we have to tolerate and forgive. We must forgive and forget.
Because of the higher consequence.
And you don't forget, one day your emotion will go and you will think about you being cheated, and you want to bring you want to react.
All right, thank you very much, Prof. I think we will take a short break. I wouldn't even want us to go on a break so that Prof can still endow us with his wealth of knowledge and experience. But we'll just take a minute break, or less than that, 39 seconds break, and when we come back, we are going to dwell on the crisis, solutions to the crisis as part of the trajectory being experienced military and diplomacy,
coexistence,
the coexistence as part of the trajectory for the government to begin to promulgate. Please stay tuned with us.
The issue here we have to begin to look at is that at the time of independence, I don't know if there was a trajectory to where we are going to.
But how could it be that credible, free and fair under manual conduct of election?
That is where our problem lies, and that is why people are now saying that, advising that we should move, that the world has gone into digital. We should move from the manual to the digital.
We cannot keep doing same thing and expecting a different result.
The only way you create jobs from your ministry is that you have to encourage local content.
If you look at the profile of Sally Mama, there is a caveat in this leave given to him. He should seek medical help if he's fine.
Welcome to Spectacle on Television Nigeria. Spectacle on Television Nigeria. Welcome back. It's still Spectacle on Television Nigerian, and we are discussing trajectory as a agenda setting for Nigerian government after 106 years pact of amalgamation. And we have, of course, in the studio a professor of policy and strategic studies, an expert in diplomacy, defense and national security, who was a former Director General of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, Kuru, Professor Dan Fulani Ahmed.
Thank you.
Welcome again. And with him, of course, is a senior citizen of the country, Chief Amos Shane, a consultant in economy and development. Welcome again.
Thank you very much.
Now, before we went on that break, we're talking about coexistence as a trajectory.
Yeah.
And of course, you see the issue in the southeastern part of the country, clamoring for secession, talking about the indigenous people of Biafra, where some persons were saying they have to leave the country, that they don't want this amalgamation anymore. And then, of course, you see the religious crisis from the Boko Haram ideology, where they say that Western education is haram, is evil, and causing crisis for the Nigerian military in part of the northeastern state of the country. And of course, the middle belt, you can see in the Niger Delta region, militancy and so on. And now we have expired in that part, and now a new beginning of Nigeria. Incidentally, we have a president, like you said, who has come to fight corruption, which Amos said, if we fight corruption, developmental strides could come to be in our nation, and then progressive nation could be bettered. Now, Prof, coexistence as a trajectory, how do we coexist amidst this turbulence, political, governmental instability like that I just mentioned?
Well, Chief Amos mentioned 4 particular issues, which possibly did not peace, leadership, coexistence, security. He has answered all the questions.
Okay.
Leadership, peace, security, based on our collective tolerance, coexistence. The book that I said I delivered to Mr. President, the title is The Beauty and Dangers of Democracy.
Tell us a little about it.
And the President too identified this as an important thing. Part of the dangers of democracy is freedom, total freedom.
Yes.
So those who agitate for secession, that is part of the dangers of democracy.
Okay.
Because total freedom to say you want to be one. Those who fought create instability, banditry, kidnapping, armed robbery, all forms of crime and criminality. They are part of the dangers of democracy. But in other nations, those dangers existed. Are you seeing America? They don't have banditry? They do have. We see it on television.
They will have uproar a while ago.
Some of the dangers you see in other parts of the world exist here. What makes ours a striking thing is the level of poverty. When people are engaged, when people are having their daily bread, when people are working, nobody will tell you that you go and fight or kill anybody anywhere. It is poverty. And it is incumbent on the leader to work on how to develop the economy. And that's what I think President Muhammad Buhari was talking. The 3 agendas, the economy, infrastructure, the security, those are the fundamentals. But get it very clear, like he said, God in his infinite mercy presented a paper at the National Assembly, and I asked a question, and I'm asking it with a lot of politeness to the listening audience. Could God, His Royal Majesty, would have been stupid to create us differently? No. The Bible, the Quran have answered the question. I've created you in nations, in different pieces. Just appreciate who I am. Like my colleagues say, I am the I am that I am. Can anybody challenge God on that?
No.
Nobody can do. But because of his power, he created us in different people, different groupings. But the main aim is worship me, worship a nation, develop that nation. No matter how, we're going to have splinter groups of interest. And the Biafran thing, I have said it severally, in a very serious nation, give that guy Minister for National Development. He will go and keep his guns somewhere. He needed to develop the nation. Called, is it Kano? What is his name?
It's Kano.
Bring him here to be Minister for National Development. He would do. During the time of President Babangida, we presented a memo that His Excellency Ojukwu, of the latest memory, should be made, and eventually he became. He went around defending the interests of a nation. As I'm talking to you now, one of the most powerful ministers is foreign minister. To the best of my knowledge, is not a Fulani.
Geoffrey Onyema.
He's from Southeast. He's developing the nation. He's working for it. That is the essence of our togetherness. Each group should contribute something to maintain the center. We have something in political science called the center-periphery discourse. The center is there powerful, but the periphery becomes more powerful because they take from the center. In the logic of international development, we are a periphery of America. But indeed, a little village in Idemili local government. It's a very of our center.
Yes.
Abuja becomes our center. Abuja becomes our dream. And the mere fact that we've succeeded in creating the Federal Capital Territory, everybody comes to take its chunk, what belongs to their village, and take back home.
That's the national...
the national cake.
The national
That's
cake.
national cake. Let us bake it. Let us sustain it. Okay. I have one of these brilliant boys, he's now commissioner in the Delta, and Charles. He developed the thesis of feeding bottle federalism. That everybody come here, they are fed, and they go back home.
And when they go back, some governors refuses to pay.
Yeah, this is
to
the
even
leadership.
to discharge.
This is the leadership.
And then when you see leadership at that stage...
But see what President Buhari is doing. Let local government have access to their money.
Yes.
But yet...
So that local level, they have their money like the judiciary and develop on their own.
Prof, can I tell you that this thing is not happening?
Yes.
I have a local government. I came from local government.
I have the answer. Local government.
And as I'm sitting here, I'm even being owed by my own local government.
I will congratulate you for it.
Okay.
It's about leadership.
It's okay.
Muhammadu Buhari will not go to a village and tell local government chairman go and pay money.
Yes.
Muhammadu Buhari will not go to even his village in Dara and tell the district head, go and do this. No, that is the development of democracy.
Yes.
But we need conscientious leadership. Unfortunately, Amos will tell you that we'll sleep in the mosque, we'll sleep in the church. Yes, we don't do what God said we should do. And we are the leader nation in that. I lived in European countries for about 22 years of my life. I have friends that when we got to Singapore, I was on the 35th floor. I was looking down the church. Nobody was going to the church on Sunday. So I called and said, no, we've done everything. We just go to pray and thank God once a year.
Yeah, okay.
Are you with me?
Yeah.
God is there for us,
Yes.
but He has given us capacity to develop others. Unfortunately, and I do not want to believe it's the problem of the black man. We saw Chinese being accused of corruption. We saw America, we saw in France, and they deal with it effectively. But one thing that we are lacking is the respect for the rule of law.
Respect for the rule of law.
If we respect the rule of law, nobody, no group will complain. This local government chairman they're talking about, the moment he does something wrong and he knows the consequences, he won't do it. But here we have a very painful something. That is, I invented the beauty of impunity. Things are done here without regard for law. The beauty of impunity. And impunity is what is causing the greatest problem that we, because except Muhammadu Buhari, that nobody can arrest, threaten. Nobody is above the law in this country, including Mr. President.
Yes.
But the disregard for the rule of law is the greatest impediment.
And the corruption of power.
That's it. Nobody will catch me. The Yorubas, I don't know any other group in Africa that invented that word. Kabiyesi, who will challenge the king. I don't know whether the Idomos have the word.
No, we don't have it like that.
Who will challenge the king? Kabiyesi, nobody. And like President Buhari now, who will challenge the president? Who will challenge the governor? Who will challenge the local government? With the rule of law, when they know there's a rule of law, nobody would disrespect the state. When Bill Clinton was leaving America, he said he's happy he's no longer president. He said, well, he said, I'm now a private citizen. Nobody can touch me. If you touch me, I go to court. But as a president, I cannot do anything.
You can't do that.
The rule of law is operating such that, look, I lived in France.
Yeah.
The then prime minister, we met on the train. When I wanted to call, he said, no, hi, Dan. How are you? The prime minister. But here, the local government chairman does not want to listen to you. He even takes the car that belongs to the state, take it to his house, take it to the village. When they want to do a code, what do you do when you go to the farm? This the product of the farm.
Tilling.
No, when you are now harvesting.
Harvesting, okay.
Yeah, a chairman of local government will take a local government vehicle to the farm to harvest.
Yeah.
He has no right to do that. But extend that to a governor that will pack possibly all the family for treatment abroad. He doesn't have that right. But then the citizenry, we are also docile. Nobody has been challenging the political authority. Those who wake up to challenge negatively, they constitute themselves into different NGOs.
Yes.
That's not the purpose. We have a nation that we must defend. We have a nation that we must work for. And a few of us, I insist on saying a few, We saw the greater good, the future of this nation in the Committee of Democratic Nations. Let us spread that to the money in Nigeria. Our legislators earn more than those of other countries.
Yeah.
In a nation where children have no shoes. Can we look at it? I was telling a friend, maybe an officer that's on level 14, you put a House of Rep. Hi, my brother, go on level 14. He will work better. Or tell the senator, go on level 16. We know how much they earn. Like, I cannot understand when we already have cars individually. Then you get to the assembly and say you have 40 billion to buy new cars in a nation the size of Nigeria. So when you're talking about the trajectory, the political leadership takes a big point, a big chunk. With a nation that is working, you don't need to go anywhere to. The weather here is good. The climate is okay. The environment is beautiful. But why would a Nigerian leader take our money and go and build house abroad? Why would it? But we don't need to go to school to have the list of all of them that leave this nation, houses, flats, equipment, hospital. And then you come back and say you are talking to God. I told the Minister for NDDs, I said, is there any such God? Can God listen to you? No, no such God. Leadership, like Shein said, coexistence, peace and security. Without that, forget about development.
Thank you very much, Prof. And of course, you have stated the reasons why the coexistence has been very difficult. And while people even want to break out and want the country divisible, not even by 2, but by 6, so that we could have 6 geopolitical, 6 countries in the united, great united Nigeria, like Great Britain. However, we have Nabwe. If you are watching us from Ghana, you can contribute now, and I think we just have 4 minutes for you to interact with us, and then we continue from there. But meanwhile, while we wait for you to connect, Mr. Shea, Chief Shea, you can still tell us more on how the country can develop better, because he mentioned how the cost of living of the poor people and the political leadership. And he also talked about the rule of law, because people don't respect the rule of law, therefore development has been very difficult. So since we have the same constitution, people can still rely on and do whatever they want to do. So how do we speedy this rule of law for development and political leadership for development?
Thank you very much. The dispensation we are today, as a nation, when you talk about leadership, I have mentioned before, we could do something different from where other nations, developed nations, have trade upon to be where they are today. I'll give you an example. I want to make an illustration. These seats we are using now are fabricated by skillful men.
Nigerians.
By Nigerians. So if we can bring up our youth together, they have the knowledge, they have the skill, they have the intellect, but all they need is empowerment, financial empowerment.
All right.
So why not, as a nation, we do something different, not to be copying from the Western way of development.
Already we have a constitution, and it's not being followed. And if the constitution ought to be followed, even in the constitution, the penalty for corruption is not difficult. You could see somebody steal maybe the whole pension of a nation of retired people and just go to prison for 6 months with billions. He could even build castle in the prison and even rule the world from the prison. Am I lying?
They invented plea bargain.
Plea bargain? So
stole $1 billion, $2 billion. Okay, come over.
Well, Reginald, we have you now. I think you can talk to us about the trajectory after 106 years of amalgamation.
First of all, I'd like to remind us of the reason why we must revisit our relationship as a nation. Number one, I believe that the amalgamation of Nigeria was a positive thing because you have to look at it from the perspective of the colonizers. The colonizers brought Nigeria together to make it easier for Nigeria to be able to make its full contribution to the Commonwealth. But now, if you look, you discover that the major problem that Nigeria is having has to do with resource costs. You see, most communities that have been blessed with natural resources have not benefited most from their resources. So most times they experience the resource cost principle, which is basic, the migration of the raw materials and natural resources from those such communities, and then the utilization of it without their personal benefits. Now, if you look at Nigeria, Nigeria as a nation.
Berlin theory of exploitation you are talking about.
Yes, now, but if you look at it now, you see that Nigeria as a nation is best positioned as a single entity. We know that we are facing a lot of issues. We are facing the issue of tribal sentiments, religious bigotry, and all the stuff that has plagued Nigeria as a nation. But frankly, Nigeria is better positioned as a nation if all of us begin to function effectively. Now, it brings me to the issue of the request for Nigeria to revisit our relationship, how we are calling for restructuring and all those. Yes, the reason why most communities are calling for restructuring is because we have not been effective in the implementation of the principle of Nigeria. And the fastest and best means to do that is to allow for what I keep saying it again, rural industrialization urbanization plan that ensures that value addition takes place at the rural communities where the raw materials are found. If, for instance, the oil producing states have the refineries, and the farming communities like Kano that has granules have processing plants for granules, you will discover that every region has what it takes to sustain itself and then to contribute to the sustenance of the nation. Now, I agree with restructuring. Restructuring says that you have to look at how we go about management of our resources, our natural resources. But if you look, the reason why we have not been successful at managing even the resources that we have and the finances that come to us as regions, individual regions, is because we are not doing it right. If we ensure that the people who are so blessed with a raw material or a natural resources are the first beneficiaries of the natural resources, the people will not have a problem with contributing to the central government. But if the central government is taking all the resources at the expense of the regions and the people, you are sure to have the panther that we are having today. And the problem Nigeria has is that we are jobless. Our fathers were not jobless. Now we have become jobless. And we have become jobless because we export and sell natural resources and raw materials. Our people don't have jobs. The people from where they are taking oil don't have good roads. They don't have nothing to show for it. Why wouldn't they agitate? The agitation is for us to better benefit from what we have. And to achieve that is not a problem. Even though we are a nation, a single nation with diverse people, we can achieve that by ensuring as reasonable people. You cannot expect that people from Kaduna should benefit more from the crude oil that is from the south. It's not going to work. You cannot expect that people who are in Kano, who have nothing to do with oil, are the ones that are having, like the way they have cited our refineries. I understand the issue of the federal character, but the federal character is not functional. I believe that Nigeria should go back to the principle of ensuring that processing, value addition takes place at the community where the natural resources is coming out from. If we did this, even if the community only had 20% and had all the jobs, you will not see any agitation about the federation called Nigeria. But until we do that, it's just a time bomb. Nigeria is going to explode. Let the regions manage, let the regions where the resources are found, let the processing of those resources take place there. Let them take place. Groundnut communities, let them have groundnut processing plant. Boko should have orange processing plant. And cashew nut processing communities should have cashew processing plants. You cannot reap from another man's house. You cannot stretch your hand from over your wall to another man's orange inside his compound to take his orange. If you do that, it's called stealing. Now, there has been economic thefts that is happening in Nigeria every day. And that is why the amalgamation is not functioning well. But as a nation, the amalgamation of Nigeria was the best thing that happened to Nigeria. But we are not practicing it and we are not implementing it. And until we do that, nothing is going to work.
Thank you, Mr. Reginald, for your take. There is no time. I was going to ask you some few questions, but I will leave it. We will still continue with this amalgamation and the trajectory again, because Prof is still in the studio. Let me just bid you farewell all the way from Ghana. That has been Reginald Nabwe, an industrialist. And he said that rural industrialization and resource management and control.
Yes, rural industrialization, urbanization plan.
And
yes, sir.
The reason why we have poverty at the rural areas and then we have wealth in the urban region is because we don't seem to have the rural industrialization in process again. We depend now only on oil. But we will stop there for today. Your last word, Prof, to the country, to the FG as part of your agenda setting, and the economist in the studio and the developmental consultant. Your last word to, let me start with Prof.
First of all, may God bless the nation and government of Nigeria. We need to work harder to strengthen all our potentials. As I'm talking to you now, the intelligentsia, large and useful in this country. The economy must be very powerful.
Good.
And the citizenry, protection of the citizens.
Yes.
And therefore, the infrastructures of government. When we talk about national security, those are fundamental factors. When they are strong, when they are protected, we can talk of a nation. The nation is there, but we need to work harder.
Thank you very much, Prof, for coming on Spectacle.
Thank you very much. My last words are to concentrate on emancipation of the youth.
Emancipation of the youth.
Yes.
Good.
We need to, these are the areas where we have strength.
Mentorship.
Mentorship. Then we should be able to empower them financially.
Human capacity.
Human capacity.
All right.
Because these are the people.
The strength of today and tomorrow.
The strength of today and tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Chief Amos Shein, for coming on Spectacle. Well, that is where Spectacle stops today on Television Nigerian. Do well to follow us on our social media platforms and drop your comment. Please be civil as we continue to watch the comments and respond to your solutions. Try to profile solutions. Give us your trajectory for the country as we move the nation forward after 100 years of amalgamation. I think 106 years after all. Thanks for watching, and I have been Daniel Atai. Spectacle. Some people who are Welcome to Spectacle on Television Nigeria. I am Daniel Atai. Spectacle on Television Nigeria.